So we're going to see John Rodrigues, who is an ice sculptor and geometry teacher. He actually dropped out of high school to be an ice sculptor, but then he was diagnosed with dyslexia. He also went to Harvard. I didn't think you could drop out of high school and still get into Harvard.
Hey. How you doing?
Noah.
Hi, Stephanie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
In school, I was kind of like the failure kid, you know. Ended up failing, you know, first grade. And then, who fails first grade, right? By the time I was 16 and I was a junior, I just stopped caring. I eventually dropped out of high school. But before I dropped out, I signed up for an ROP class. It was like a chef's class. Never seen a class like that before. He wasn't talking about rigid, sit still, be quiet. He was all over the place, up the front of the class, down the middle. And I was like, wow, this is cool. This is not like, you know, my last, 16 years of life have been miserable. And I did so well that he recommended me for a job at a hotel in the kitchen. We walked into like the back of the hotel. The chef was making an ice sculpture. And my jaw just dropped. I was like, wow, this is like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. For the first time in my life, I was like, wow, my mind feels relaxed because I'm working with a three-dimensional object as opposed to like a two-dimensional, and it just felt good. Started doing carvings for the hotel, and then I got a call from the food and beverage director from American Hawaii Cruises in Honolulu, Hawaii, yeah. And he's like...
Wait, Hawaii?
Yeah, in Hawaii, yeah. My life, ever since I looked for another thing to be good at, has been happy. Like, I've been happy. After I worked on the ships for a while, I decided to go back to school. And I started at community college. You know, they put stuff on the bulletin boards. You may have dyslexia if you have, and it listed 10 things. So I was like, can't spell very well. Hey, that's me. Check. The next one was like, slow reader. Me too.
Check.
I think it was like 9 out of the 10 things were me, so I was like, wow. So I actually went in and I got tested. And I found out that I had dyslexia, which was like at least I knew the name of the thing that had caused me my struggles, yeah. But it also had given me all the talents to, do ice sculpting too. I got my accommodations, and all of a sudden, the failure kid that was only getting C's, C minuses, D's, things like that, I started to get A's. And I was like, wow, you're just as smart as anyone else, you just learn differently. And I decided, well, let's apply to private college. I applied to Harvard.
That was just your first one. I was like, let's go for Harvard.
And then, yeah, I was admitted to Harvard.
All right, so my question is, if you could, knowing what you know now,
yeah.
Restart everything you've ever done with your life without dyslexia and ADHD, would you?
No way. I would never. That's too much of who I am. I think the suffering for the first 16 years was really rough. That's still something that I think is painful even now. But I credit dyslexia with giving me the talents to do ice sculpting too. So I think, instead of doing what you're supposed to do, sit and really think about what you want to do. Don't live somebody else's life. You need to take your talents and live your life. And I think that's the key to happiness.
If you want to try it, don't let it touch you. Pop your jaw. Okay, the John Rodrigues interview was super cool. Let's do this.
He was just like, okay, here you go, here's a saw, you go for it. And it was just one of those moments where it's we were all really?
He made this beautiful fish for us. We got to make the small little details on it, which were super cool.
I want to be as happy as John Rodrigues. That should be my goal. If I'm just happy, that would be enough.